There we go. There we go. Had to turn down some stuff. Probably gonna turn it down a little bit more. Let me adjust some of these. I'm using the slider on Streamlabs and also the slider on iTunes. Try to make this a happy medium. What's up, gangsters? It's good to see everyone. I know it's way late or early, depending, for some of you, so appreciate you being here. 4 seconds late. You'll never get anywhere with that lack of punctuality. By the way, I hate those jobs. I hate them. I've had plenty of them. You weren't sitting at your desk with Excel open at 7:59:59 in the morning. We're gonna dock you. It's like, get out of here, bro. I'll get more work done in an hour than the rest of the team does in 6 hours. It's fine. Anyway, tonight's gonna be a lazy one. It's gonna be fun. We'll be exploring some stuff. I'm working on probably saw it on social media and even on the Discord, doing like a little Radagast inspired druid hermit guy. I have been working on the Troll Lord Games Hermit, the Gary Gygax stuff. So it's very much on the mind. I'm in that design headspace. But I finished up the last painting for that. So we should be hearing more about that soon. But yeah, I think I've talked about it before, but being part of a Gary Gygax thing is just, I still can't believe it. Like some of the art prompts are directly from like handwritten Gary Gygax notes. It's nuts, man. Unbelievable. Troll Lord Games does a hell of a job. Kind of keeping his legacy, even his non-D&D stuff, but the stuff he worked on personally and world building and things like that. They crush it all the time. So it's an honor to work on that stuff. But it's on the brain still. And while working on the last few pieces I did for the book, I had some ideas, and I'm going to test them out. I've been testing them out a little bit here. The method, it's funny because whenever I look back at video and I'm like trying new methods, and I keep telling people, oh, this is a new mentality thing and a new, this is a new way that I like to work or that I'm trying out. And then I look at it, it's exactly the same as all my other ways. Like if you were to put it step by step, it's kind of the same, but I don't know. There's a few mental leaps here and there. And like this one, normally I would do my grayscale values. Then I would go in with like a color or an overlay layer, block in my stuff, then paint on top of that. I'm kind of forgoing the color overlay step. And what I'm doing is I'm using my standard, really rough value layer. And then just going on top of that new layer, pure color, but eyeballing the value. And like picking colors within it. So with this one, it's the one of kind of the Radagast style. Let me hop over here. And also I'll be recording a clean version of this on the other window. So I'm going to be looking between like 3 of my monitors here. So forgive me if I keep like glancing over at stuff, because I'm going to be checking chat. I'm going to be checking this monitor to make sure this recording is going okay, checking the live stream feed, like all that stuff. So a lot going on. But I'm going to be doing this sketch here in Rebelle. I might finish it in like a clip studio or something to smooth out a few things. It's funny, Sherry, you're on Discord talking about, and you guys are talking about the Rebelle brush engine versus Clip versus Photoshop versus all this stuff for like smoothing and the anti-aliasing around brushes, which is what that is. Whenever you see that banding kind of around brushes, it's anti-aliasing, and it's the way the math works on blending and diffusing out, we had to really dig into this during the beta testing. And it's one of those things. It's not that Rebelle can't do it well. It's that Rebelle's not made to do that. It's just not made for it. So a lot of times we talk about, and I get a lot of like YouTube comments, like, why do you have like 19 programs to do art? That's part of the reason why. So something that Rebelle can be a rock star at is something that Clip couldn't do to save its life. But on the other hand, some of the smooth brush stuff, some of the creamy blend with an airbrush is more on the Clip. Maybe even Krita can do it a little, in my opinion, a little better than Rebelle. But as far as, you know what I mean? So every tool has its place. But yeah, it's an anti-aliasing thing, and it's the way because they have to crunch numbers thinking, at least in Rebelle's case, that you're going to either turn on nano exporting, or you're going to use the pigment blending mode, or that you're going to be using, what's the other thing? So they're simplifying the math of all those brushes blending together because they need to be able to use their other algorithm, their other kind of calculus, if you will, to make sure that when you make those changes, it doesn't change how it's already put down, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of like, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So, but there's and GPU utilization is a whole different beast. The one that I laugh at all the time is Corel Painter. It says it's using my GPU. It ain't using jack on my GPU. Never does, even with the GPU icon clicked. Like, there's some finicky things, you know. And also, I saw you guys talking about color theory using the multiply layer for blending modes, to use the multiply blending mode to be able to more accurately pick colors. So I can go into that too before we get into this. The multiply blending mode literally is subtractive color theory. It is modeled to divide by density. So value plus luminosity, like there's a little algorithm for it, but then essentially if you want to learn how to blend actual paint without bringing paint out, use the multiply blending mode whenever you mix colors, because what it's doing is it's removing light, which is why everything gets so freaking dark so fast. Whenever you use multiply, you have to really have a gentle touch with it, because it's the same thing as if you're mixing different temperatures with like oil paint. Like if you have ultramarine blue and like burnt sienna, you mix those together, you're going to get something very close to black. Very close to black. Won't be completely black, not like ivory black or Mars black or anything, but like dark enough that you can use it as a black. And it's the same thing if you do that same mathematics in digital art on a multiply layer, you're going to get the same effect, which is really cool and it's handy. It's just whenever the rest of your layers are like overlay or color dodge or all of these very additive things that deal with light, and then you bring in the multiply layer that only works by dividing and getting rid of light, that's when a lot of people are like, whoa, multiply layer is way too much. Like, what's going on? But a really cool secret you can do, especially for shadows, is if you choose the color that you already have chosen. So like if we chose the like lighter mid-tone on this wizard's face, and then go in and paint the shadows on a multiply layer, and then lower the opacity to like 20%, it's going to look pretty good. It's a good trick. Does PaintStorm actually use the GPU? That's a good question. Yeah. Oh yeah. I have eyes everywhere. No, I always have Discord open. The thing is, I have my two littles who I love them dearly. I really do. And then, Gracie, my oldest, she's with me every week and then every other weekend. So, there's a lot going on. So I can't participate as much in Discord as I want, but setting it up right now, kind of what I'm doing, setting it up to make sure that you all that want to chat and hang out and have a really nice comfy place to kind of just sit and talk shop and just chill and zone out, like that's my goal, because I will want that as well. I think that's very important, just to have a nice place to kick your feet up, no stress, no clout chasing, none of that stuff. Just we're here to hang, talk shop, figure things out together, and that's it. That's always been the goal. So I'm there. I'm definitely there. I'll be replying to some stuff, but I'm kind of in the back, just like letting the party happen. You know what I mean? But yeah. So here, I'm using kind of that new method. You'll see. I just kind of blocked in. I only have 3 layers. I have my sketch layer, which is the multiply. Funnily enough, I stopped using the graphite stuff in Rebelle. It's really good, but my setup, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the Huion drivers that I have, or if it's like WinTab, and I tried it with it enabled, disabled, Windows Ink, any of that stuff. Sometimes my graphite lines won't go down. Like whenever I'm like doing the motions and stuff, and I have it on, dark brown or, black or whatever, I'm doing the motions, it shows the mouse cursor moving. Nothing goes down. Sometimes the mouse cursor stops moving as I'm still moving, but I don't have that issue with the Express oils. I get the liner brush. Well, my webcam's blocking everything, but under the Express oils, I get the liner brush. You can also do it with the general oils and acrylics. Get the nice round liner brush, and yeah, it makes for a great pencil, like a great sketch pencil. I'm like, I said it in my Krita book, right? Like, I'm your art guardian angel. Like, that's my whole purpose, I think, is to, like, even if I don't, and hopefully I do, but if I never achieve D&D or Magic or, an Isaac Asimov, the annual book or the sci-fi collected stories, like, if I don't get the big, like, Heavy Metal magazine or, stuff like that, if people that I help kind of mentor make it to that level, I'm just as happy. You know what I mean? Paste it into the Express oils. That's true, because it might be part of the algorithm, because all of these brushes are super algorithm based, because they have to deal with the depth map of the canvas. So even if I lower the canvas, even if I go into visual settings and change the the visual settings, even if I come in and change this stuff, doesn't matter. It's just something I think with my driver, because it was me and like one other person during beta testing, and the way they had to get the information, it was kind of rigorous. The way that we had to like turn on, we got a debug version of Rebelle that was copying every input that you do, and it had it on a console. And then what you would do is you could like hold down a button to record, so it could redline it through the command prompt. Like, it got really in depth. Thankfully, I've seen stuff like debug menus and stuff before, so it was cool. But it was like, okay, whenever you notice it happening, hit these buttons and do this, and then try it again. But wouldn't you know it, every time I went in to start hitting the button, like, oh, it's doing it again, it would stop doing it, and I got super mad because now they don't believe me. Well, they do believe me, but I just can't prove it, so they can't, like, well, we don't know, it could be anything, with it, just to see. That's true. I probably should. That might be part of it, to be honest with you. New artist. Yeah, David. Yes, I think he was on a pre-release kind of council. We get invites, and then we get certain forums that we go to like talk to each other about what we're trying and stuff like that. It's where we get to like look at all the new features like a year in advance, which is cool. Can't talk about it, but but cool stuff. Anyway, back to this. So started just general values. Used one brush, really. Just use the Express oil. I think I used... Because the Express oils are so fast. They just really get you in there. I think I just did... I think I did Rough Wet as the main brush that I was doing. Yeah, I think so. And then kind of come in, and you'll see how I changed the values a little bit, but I really wanted to keep a very analogous color scheme on this one, because I do think I'm going to introduce a little bit of maybe rim light or something that's going to be a split complementary analogous, which is not quite a thing, really. You're essentially using like 40% of the entire color wheel at that point, but it should look okay. So basically, since we have a lot of greens here, that means our rim light, if we decide to do it, is probably going to be a very light magenta, because it's going to pop. But I'm going to stay in the yellows and the greens for a vast majority of this, and then just use a little bit of like dark rich brown for some of the shadows. And I'm thinking I may not even colorize the skin like as a quote-unquote skin tone. I may just keep it in this analogous, almost like gradient mapped look, because I kind of dig it. Like, I think having the whole thing with a nice wash of a main color kind of adds a little bit of character to it, you know? Could be a lot of fun, but we'll see. I am going to keep brushing a little bit here in Rebelle, but then I am going to bring this into something else. I don't know if I want it to be Clip Studio for the nice kind of creamy brushes that we had before, or if I want to keep it painterly, and go into... I might actually take it into Art Rage, and then... because I can see some stuff that would be pretty cool in Art Rage, and then bring it into like Paint Storm if I wanted to keep some real nice texture stuff. Things to do. All right, thank you, Rick. Yeah, and like I said, I will definitely hit you up after the show, after the live stream, and I'll respond to your DM. So have a great night. Thanks for hanging out, brother. It's good to see you. Feel like the brushes are actually interacting with the layers while you're painting this? Yes. So what I have found, and especially with Rebelle works better the more paint you have on the canvas. So let's say I want to add more painterly strokes to this. What I would actually do is duplicate the layers I already have, merge those together, and then paint on top of that. The brushes really shine when they have something to work off of, not just the canvas, but other brush strokes. So, especially if you have like pigment blending mode and all that stuff turned on, if you're just brushing with the paintbrush on a blank layer, it's fine, and like it has cool texture and it looks good, but really where you start getting into some of the really fun stuff is when basically, like, if I merged this whole thing down and then just started painting from here, you really get some nice rich looks of like impasto cutting off and like, and like the knife expanding out and stuff. Like, it feels the way it's supposed to, especially if you're in this paint and blend mode right here. Yes, it does. Just anything, any visual interest. So any sort of non-empty layer. So it could be gray, it could be, you could even really paint white. You could paint a layer white completely, just fill it. So it needs pixels to use. So if pixels are already there, it'll be like, it'll stretch, I don't know. It feels weird. It feels gummier. It feels like you have liquid on an oil painting brush, and it's extending out your brush strokes. So it's a super cool way to work. And in fact, if I come here and see here, and I go like layer, merge visible layers. See, I had a request and it may show up in the next few updates. I don't know. I still haven't maybe explained it well enough. I wish there was a button where you could merge visible layers, but instead of it compacting your layers together like it just did, I want it to do that, but make a new layer of the merge. Like Clip Studio has that verbatim. It's called like, I don't have it open right now, but it's called like merge visible layers into new layer or something. And you just hit one button and it does it. It's the best. It is the best. So from here, I have to go like, okay, layer, select all layers, edit, copy. Then you do like edit, paste, but now it makes another, well, did it do it? No. Did it not do it? Hold on. See, it only did the value painting layer. See, it's stuff like that. Like little hiccups, you know. But basically, we have this. You know what? Screw it. Let's just do this. Merge visible layers. Yeah, we'll just work on it from this. Then we can turn the sketch back on. Multiply layer will bring down the opacity a little bit. And I am going to... Do I want to get rid of my sketch layer yet? That's where I'm at right now. Do I want to get rid of it? I think it's still doing a purpose, so maybe not. We can maybe just keep painting this out a little bit. I need to make the value transitions a little better, but I'm trying to decide if that's worth it to do here, or if I should go into a smoother, like a clip or a paint storm to be able to do that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we can make sure we're over here, so this way I can record it here as well. All right. Cool. So now this is also being recorded for YouTube, but just the time-lapse part. So I'm using Rebel's time-lapse, which I appreciate now that all of these painting programs have their own built-in time-lapse thing. Let's do rough, wet, the express, and then we can just kind of color pick. But this stuff I didn't actually color pick. I was just here. I put down a few, yeah, to see like darker stuff, but I really wanted to stay on this top kind of third of the color wheel, like really the yellows and the greens. Let me move that up here. Move keyboard right here. There we go. It's not a bug as intended, but notice unless you open. Oh, I see. Oh, so it does remember. Interesting. So let's do this. Yeah, because these brushes feel way better whenever you have stuff like on the canvas, you know. Do this. Let me get standard right here, and let's go, actually let's do this, paper, let's do flat oily. Let's see what this is about. It's a little much. That's okay. Let's do Filbert. Just really put in some interest and texture and stuff here. Actually, let me bring that back down. Boom, boom, boom. Does using the time-lapse slow down the program? Not that I have seen. I do have a 12 gig graphics card with 16 gigs of RAM, so I'm kind of mine's not just a standard setup, you know. I mean, it's not like top of the line, but it's pretty quick, so I don't notice anything. The nice thing is, what you'll notice is each time I put a brush stroke down, you're gonna see the red button. So if there's activity, it records every 1 second. But if there's no activity, you'll see here that it's paused, which I appreciate, because if I'm painting during the day and the kiddos are running around, I need to make them lunch or get baby down for a nap or like change diapers or all that stuff, I can literally just stop and then have this other stuff going. And I don't have to like, oh, I need to remember to pause my recording, or else in post-production I'm gonna have to go in and, you know, find the lull of 25 minutes where there's no, like, it just adds work. But with this, it does it for me. You don't get the UI and stuff. Like, you don't get the color, you don't get the brushes stuff, you don't get that. But that's the trade-off, right? So it's almost like Procreate, how they do it. They just show you the canvas, and then as it goes through, as you make marks and stuff. So I'm putting these in. Is there any effect that you just love painting? Translucency? Yeah, I am actually a big fan of light, like light contouring around stuff. So like here, actually, if I came in and I did like a, if like the light bridge came over and did this, I've always loved that look. And then like if we darken that, and like just a really strong light and dark thing, I've always loved that look a lot. Even if it's not technically correct, I like it. The whole slice of light thing, it's just a lot of fun. If I do paper, let me bring that down a little. Just kind of using a whole bunch of random brushes. That's a cool brush though. I like that. It gives you just enough noise to like play around, you know? So if we come in here like this, it's almost like a Rembrandt piece now. Yes, Clip Studio has it. It's really cool. I like the fact that all of them, I think Procreate started that trend, and a lot of other programs saw it and were like, yep, that's a great idea, which it is, you know. Let me bring that in. Kind of texture this out a little bit. And I was going to show you guys a really fun traditional style painting hack that I think is going to be part of an upcoming YouTube video. I've covered it before, but it's been a long time since I've covered it. And it has to deal with the multiply layer. Do something like this. That's kind of nice right there. Let's get that. Okay. Yo, what's up? Yeah, so Rembrandt triangle is funny because it's the shape that's made after the cast shadow of your nose comes over. It does this, and then that light comes up, and it comes up right above the cheekbone. So if I were to Rembrandt this one out, it would be like, well, really, it's the part that's not facing the light. So it'd be over here, where I would grab it and like over there. That brush isn't great for it. Filbert Smooth. Lower it down a little bit. It's like over there. This one's actually kind of hard because this is too extreme of a look. It's not a 3/4. It's actually closer to like a 5/8 or like 7/8, like almost coming to profile. So it's a little trickier, but you can still do some cool stuff. Because yeah, the actual placement of it would be, if we were to do the Rembrandt triangle, it'd be like right here. I would darken this, bring down this opacity a little, bring this up. It would be that triangle right there. This one. So. That to be a little lighter though. Another thing I do appreciate about Rebelle is I like working with a little bit bigger brushes that I'm comfortable with, because that is a very traditional painting method thing. If you use a brush that's a little too big, you have to be more cognizant of the brushstroke decisions you're making. And it gets you away from working super fine, you know. Keeps your shapes big and like readable, and so yeah, I got to that point. Let me go over there. Like that. That's cool. Yeah, I don't like undoing, man. Like, why get caught up in the mistake of it when you can just paint it out? Literally, I can just color pick and, you know. And it's more interesting because you're still adding more and more and more. Like, you're still utilizing the tool that you already have, so you don't have to go to, you know, an eraser tool, or, you know, even with Control Z. Only unless I really did something like whoopsie doodle. But if it's just, hey, I made a mark and I don't like it, that's what painting is. So just keep at it, you know. That. Yeah, the only thing, and it's more me than it is any specific program, but like, sometimes this feels a little too unwieldy. Any of the more traditional painting program things. Because it does feel different than actually holding, you know, a filbert or a dagger brush or whatever. Like, this does a pretty cool job of emulating it, but just nothing feels the same. It just won't. It's the closest I've ever seen, but even then, what if I change that? Yeah, I like that a little more, where there's that light coming in, because it shows that angle a little better. Yeah. And then if I come in, I need to hit that. Let me get this. Yes. There's one. There's one, and then so yeah, I'm a export this out. And which one should I do, guys? I'll have chat decide. Do you want PaintStorm Studio or Clip to come in and kind of render some of this before we take it into ArtRage? And we can do it in Rebel too, but ArtRage has a few specific brushes that I made, and there's a certain effect you can do, and it's like a game changer. Get some of these. Get some of the little sticks right here. It's almost like putting a feather in the cap type thing. Like, I don't even know if the sticks like this even make sense, but oh well. Oh well. Let me go ahead, do this. I'll use one of my flat bristles. No, that one. There it is. Let me do that one. Get a little bit of texture here on this hat before I take this into another program. Just something to kind of bite onto. PaintStorm. Clip has plenty. That's true. That's actually a great point. Yeah, so I can do that. So yeah, let me go ahead and I'm going to export this out. So whenever I hop between programs, I never really take my layers with me. So what I do is, let's say I have the Rebel, which I do. This is a Rebel formatted deal. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Now, I could save a version as a PSD, Photoshop file. But what I normally do is I actually export. I'm not going to nanopixel it. I don't need to. The really only reason I nano export something is if I'm making a print of it. But, Forest Wizard, work in progress. So this is a PNG file, because PNG files pretty lossless in quality. They still have all that image, the image information on there, but every single digital painting program can open a PNG file, So we can do that. Wouldn't you know it? I had a feeling you guys would pick PaintStorm, so PaintStorm's already open. And then I'm going to open Forest Wizard, work in progress. There you go. And see, it brings in some of the nice paint strokes and stuff, but now we're just on one layer. Now we don't have to worry about all that other stuff, right? Not worried if we're on the right layer or not. So the only thing is, I love the fact that Rebel exports it out with the canvas texture on there, but any painting you do in this is going to go on top of that, which is fine with me. There's actually, let me see if I can, okay, so here's PureRef. Let me find there's an image, I can't remember the artist's name. You all have probably seen this image. They just have their username online, so I don't know their full name. But there is this picture that when I saw it, I flipped out because I was like, it is an actual, in my opinion, an actual masterpiece. And it's just it's a character sketch. It's a quick, like, you can tell they probably spent a few hours on it, but nothing out of the ordinary. Where is this thing? There it is. I literally saved it as great technique. So this picture is dope as hell. Nye, what's up? Oh, hey, welcome. Yeah, PureRef. I cannot live without it. Genius, right? I can't remember who. I have their username, but I mean, this right here is a masterpiece to me, because there are some things about it, and it looks just like a general sketch, but whenever you bring it in, if you get real close, you see the canvas texture. I can tell they jumped between different programs. And things like this, like the way these blotches and the way these kind of unsmooth themselves, and then you have your deal right here. Exactly. So like you have the grit and the grime of almost like a washi paper, but then over here you have the smudge of like a Procreate, but then, you know, there's some true tells of Photoshop. Where is it at? Like some of these type of brush strokes where it's on top of the texture, but like, and then the translucency on some of these this is an absolute masterpiece. There's no other, I mean, it's not hyperbole. Like, I think this should be taught. You know what I'm saying? So like, some people would find that a little I don't know, not misleading is not really the right word, but they wouldn't like the fact that there's too much going on. Like, here's a really thick paper texture, but then you come down here and it's a whole different texture, but then there's no texture here, but then there's some graphite here, but then you bring back that canvas here. Like, it's almost like chalk that they use. Just really great, you know. And that stuff doesn't even go away during like grayscaling it out or anything, right? So I'm hoping we can kind of get some of that with this. And it's a very artist thing to worry about instead of it's like a multimedia. It's almost like they took their pencil sketch, scanned it in, did like maybe some texture stuff or like a sharpen filter, and then they come in and digital paint on top of that. Then there's a lot going on. So that's sort of what I'm hoping we get here, because we get those nice deals and all that stuff on our deal here. But if I just come in and let's say grab my dirty oil brush, and then we come up here, I'm going to color pick, and then I'm going to grab this and then bring this up in here. We're hopefully going to see that same, you see how you can clearly see that texture, but then here you see some nice wet brush strokes on top of it. Like, that goes a long way. You know, that's a fun one. That's a fun one to do. So really, I'm just going to come in here and sort of block in some of this with a little bit more wet brush stuff. Now that we're in PaintStorm, let me just do these. My oil main. Okay, oil main. Let's go like that. And the whole idea is just to get it to where, yes, oh, Jin's is incredible. Absolutely phenomenal. And then darker. And see, we can just do these nice blocky brush strokes, which I like, because it gives detail without having detail. Which I love, because I'm bad at sketching. So this makes me look like I'm way better at it than what I am. It like hides the faults, I guess. So oil detail, let's bring those in. We'll kind of get rid of some of these sketch lines, because then we can really start to kind of render out some stuff. I wanted that to be a shadow, but I'll have to come back and... So really, yeah, I'm just sketching with the paintbrush, treating it like a pencil. Hopefully it'll give me something cool to look at. And then oil canvas, come right here. Brent, what's up, brother? So it's fun to just come and be real messy on this stuff, because I am going to come in and kind of sculpt the face a little more before we do the little art rage trick of putting some good brush texture on stuff. And we can maybe even introduce some of these lighter colors in here. That's too much, but see, really what I'm starting to do now, I just want my stuff to read a little bit more energetic, even if it's a boring, like, here's a picture of a wizard and he's looking at the camera. Had his pipe. Oh, that'd be cool. Maybe over here where it's I wanted to do almost like a flap that he has these sticks tucked under, like he did it on purpose. Good splatter brush in there. You can never go wrong with a good gross looking splatter brush. It's very underrated. It's an underrated way to get some cool texture, just to kind of play with a little bit, you know. Blender. I like this blender brush because it has canvas dots on it. That's my thing. Paint Storm's great because a lot of these brushes can be very gimmicky. They can look really kind of like not super cool. But because they have almost the perfect mix of them, you can get away with it. So like these dots, you bring it up here, and it looks like that same tooth of that canvas. You see what I mean? It's not quite the same size, but it doesn't matter. It gives you the illusion that this brush stroke is kind of on the same tooth of the canvas that these are. It's a subtle thing, but this is the type of stuff I really draw in on, you know? I just think it's super rad. And this, I can bring that out. Use the blender brush to kind of block back in the shape. Because right now, remember, we're still in kind of the chaos theory of it all. We don't Doesn't need to look exactly right yet. Have you ever felt your texture would not be accepted? Oh yeah, all the time. In fact, I actually have professional, while your work is very good, it's not what we're looking for type stuff from big companies. But I save all of them. I save all of my rejection letters. Because you can use it. You can use that as fuel. And be like, oh yeah? But to be fair, the people I got denied from, like, I'm not ready. So it makes sense. Like, I would be the first to say. It was more one of those things that, like, I just wanted to shoot my shot and see if they would say yes, but they said no, which I'm kind of fine with, because frankly, if I compare my work to the work of their other artists, like, I'm not ready. I'm fine with that. That's a-okay. It gives me stuff to improve on, stuff to look forward to and work on, and, you know. But I think it's good. I think it's good to get rejection letters from time to time. And, you know, it may not even be up to me or my skill. Like, I could be maybe skilled enough, but then they're just not hiring right now. They have to send out the letter and be like, sorry, bud. You know, and that's fine too. Yeah, so it can be kind of a bad thing, I guess. It depends on the way you look at it, but I really don't see malice towards it. Like, I don't think of it as a, oh yeah, I'll show you. Like, there might be a little bit of that, but not really, because we're all just trying to get projects off the ground, and you know what I mean? Like, if I'm not the right fit, I'm not the right fit. That same thing happened on the... Oh, they made a board game based on Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. It was by Funko Games. Funko Games, I can't remember who the other developer was. But I was the other art finalist. They did art call, and I made it all the way to the very end, and then they picked somebody else, which is fine because they picked the right person for the job. I would have approached it different, and I don't think it would have been as good. But I still got paid. Like, I made it so far that I still got paid for my time because I had to do like 4 or 5 art tests. But what's cool is the paycheck is actually from Funko and the Alfred Hitchcock estate, which is dope. It's the dopest thing in the world. My name's not in the credits. No one's ever really going to know that I worked on it, but I do, because I got the check from Alfred Hitchcock's estate. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I actually downloaded. There's an ArtStation sale right now, and I downloaded, or I bought 2 tutorials from another Riot artist, because how they work is so much different than how I work, and it's I'm gonna mispronounce their name. I need to look it up before I even attempt it. But they do incredible work, but there ain't a visible brushstroke on that entire painting. And I want to see how they do it. How do they get rid of their brushwork? Because it's a thing. It's a thing to where some companies like Games Workshop loves painterly looks. They love it. I mean, their whole MO and their whole IP has been built on Baroque era paintings, with like Adrian Smith and Carl Krapinski and like Lewis Jones and all those people doing stuff like that. So they love visible brushwork. Excuse me, they love it. But then Riot, not so much. They don't want to see a single brushstroke on the canvas. So that would be a harder sell for me, you know. Yeah, really, it's down to personal preference. Some art directors love it, some don't. That's fine. Really, my whole MO to be a professional illustrator is I can be able to do everything. That you could hire me to do a John Singer Sargent replica and I would know how to do it. May not be great, but it has the right idea. You know, it's the thought that counts type thing. Or they need a Frank Frazetta thing. Okay, well, I can kind of do that too. Oh, well, you need something more like Klimt. Okay, yeah, I know that. I know those shapes, and I know Monet, and I know, you know, Tyler Jacobson, and like I know I can read and understand how these images are made. So if you want something in the style of, I can probably do it. It won't be as good as the original, of course, but we'll make something happen. That's my goal. I want to be a generalist. Like, I'm a gun for hire. So it's like, if you have a painting problem, like, I can solve it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the goal. That's the dream. Is get good enough at so many different styles, which is hard to do. Because you have to dedicate your time to learning every single nuance of every type of paint. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, it's very gradient map driven and very like hard and soft round brush, which I have nothing against. Yeah, it's just not fun. There's no, I think the punch has to come from the composition at that point instead of the brushwork. And I like brushwork. I like it. I like seeing it. I like because it helps me figure out the decisions the artist made. You know, why did they do that there? Why didn't they do that there? Like, it's a conversation. It's a conversation you're having with your audience. And I think there's something to that. We'll try a little bit of a Rembrandt. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. All right. All right. Seeing if I come up here and go boop, 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 boop. Hit those whites. Right. Yeah, a little painterly there. Yeah, it's all very. It's like photorealism in a painting. Like, it's technically incredible the fact that a human being can do that. But it's also, you know, I'm jaded, but at a certain point, you know, just take a picture. Save you time. It's all about goals. And everybody's goals are different, and that's good. That's what makes art so freaking awesome, is like, you know, and I told this to I got to teach a digital painting class at the college I used to work for, like after I left full-time tech support stuff. And the first lesson I had everyone do is I wanted them to use whatever, you know, whatever program they wanted, whatever sort of thing, but it was a requirement that, you know, I gave them a picture of an apple, and it was a requirement that they trace it. The whole piece of homework was, okay, you're going to have like, because we met twice a week, I was like, you basically have 2 weeks. So like, if today's Tuesday and we meet Tuesdays and Thursdays, next Thursday, I need this to be done. I just need you to trace this apple, and that's it. That's the only deal. And they're like, well, what kind of set? And I was like, no, just trace it. Just whatever. Just trace it. I want it to be, you know, exactly right. You go ahead and do it. The students are like, that's weird. Like, why is my art instructor telling me to trace? But wouldn't you know it? the 2 weeks goes by. Every single apple looked completely different. They were all the same place in the same part of the same canvas of the same deal because they were traced. But every style was different. It was absurd how different these things were. And I wanted to prove a point that, like, this art thing is subjective. And even if you tried to copy someone else, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. No one, okay, you don't write your handwriting the same way that your teacher that taught you how to write writes. Does that make sense? Like, they teach you how to hold the pencil a certain way and, like, okay, do your cursive, do your blah, blah, blah. But, like, everyone has a slightly different grip. They put a different amount of pressure. They put a different amount of, like, influence on each line they make. So even if you had 30 people trace exactly the same thing, you're getting 30 way different results every time. So at that point, I was like, ease up on yourself. Your style is your style. You're never, ever, ever going to get rid of it, ever. So learn what it is that you're pretty good at and then make that better. You know. But yeah, so, and then that's when I kind of made it my thing of like, yeah, I'd like to get hired by, I'll tell you some of the clients. Blizzard's one, of course, but I ain't ready for Blizzard. No way. The other one was Creative Assembly, the people that make the Total War games. Another one was ArenaNet, people that make Guild Wars. So, like, a lot of my stuff can be in the style of, but it's not quite ready for prime time for those IPs. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Because they're right. I mean, they're like, yeah, your stuff looks good. It's not what we need. Fair enough. On to the next thing. You know, I say that, but as a as a dad of kiddos, of course I want to be hired by everyone all the time. But I still get some cool projects. I still get some cool stuff out of the deal, you know. Like, I still got to work with Riot. It was indirectly, but it was funny because the same art director that gave me my letter of like, we appreciate you, but we don't need you. It was the same art director that I worked on whenever I did the stuff for Bandbox and worked with Riot. So I ended up working for Riot anyway. It was just for one thing, but it was a nice little feather in the cap. And I can actually... Bandbox is gone now. Like, they're no longer a company. So I think in like 2 years or something, I can release all of my prints that I did. I still have them. Like the art files. So I can make my version of the prints that I made for Bandbox, which is cool. Yeah, I think I have the art of Total War Warhammer 3, I think. I think that's the one I have. But a lot of those same artists work for Blizzard, which is funny. Like, Bayard Wu is definitely one of them. Laurel Austin is another one. She is fantastic. Yeah, this type of painting is a lot of fun because I'm not even really paying attention to what I'm doing right now. I can just talk and put brush strokes down and I'm not worried about how it looks. So it's all just instinct. Which probably, if I were to look closer at this, I'd probably be like, well, this doesn't make sense. But that's fine right now. It doesn't have to. Let's do that. Bring that up. Yeah, that's the brush I wanted. And then kind of mark this stuff in. I'll reestablish establish some of those. There we go. I feel like this cheek needs to be a little deeper or something. So like... Yes, so it is a lot of fun doing like the sculpting pass, because it does feel almost like you're working with clay, you know? And then if we like do that, do that, then I'm trying to decide, because this might be the visual style that I start leaning more into. I don't even know what you would call this, but I don't even know if it really has a name. It's like exaggerated. It is kind of mood driven and character driven. There we go. Catches here. Another thing that I saw that I thought was really cool is how people do the lighting, where they'll like go like this. You do something like this, and then what you do is you come in with a blender brush. Where are my blenders? Here, I'll get this one. There it is. And then you kind of blend that in. Something like that. So no, I did not do a gradient map on this one. This is all just, I did a value pass first. So in Rebelle, I started, and where am I? There it is. So started in Rebelle. Oh, but wait, edit, undo, edit, undo. Oh, it's too far gone. So I just did grayscale first. And then I made a new layer, normal layer, didn't do color or overlay or anything, just standard layer. And then I just took analogous colors, so the green and the yellows. And I was like, okay, let me just kind of guesstimate where these values are. And then use the wheel here and then did it. So you can kind of see in Rebelle how it sort of gelled like that. So yeah, it wasn't any fancy... gradient maps or anything. This was just pure, let's get it on there. And so, but yeah, this technique is one that the Riot artist was using. So like they would do really dramatic cast shadows, and they would do them all on one layer, but then they would like, you know, and if you know how we talked about the multiply layer earlier, you can actually come in and multiply but it makes it real dark, you know? Because it's really just mixing the same way paint would. But it does give you a little bit of a difference of tone when you do that, which is pretty cool. Really, something like this, using overlay, you can, and then if you want to get rid of it because it's not working for whatever reason, you can. Let's just do, I usually think normal blends better, you know? But yeah, it's worth a shot. It's a cool little thing to do. But yeah, it's trying out methods like that, really, that I'm finding to be a lot of fun. Oil main, there we go. Add some detail. Boom. I love this brush because if you lightly put a stroke down, it's very smeary. But then if you put a little bit of pressure on there, it gets more opaque. So you get this nice, like feeling, almost like a really wet sketch brush that you can do a lot with. Like here we can outline. There we go. Kind of bring that mustache shape back in. All right, so also, yeah, Discord people, if you're on the Discord, and you want me to review some of the art, do a little critique session, be sure to get it in by Friday, or really just Saturday morning even. And it'll be the Saturday stream. Looking forward to it because there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff we can cover. There's a lot of really good questions about things. So I'm excited to kind of dig in and hopefully make some lives easier. I can puff that out a little more. There we go. Bring this. Really just kind of coming in and color picking some stuff and kind of forming out shapes, and nothing too crazy, just enough. And I think the next art stream, I have it set up to where I can use Procreate and actually show it like stroke for stroke on the stream. I'll be doing like AirPlay and just like casting it to the computer. Try to color layer and it looked all washed out. So trying something similar to what you're doing. Yeah, it's fun to do. It's also, it is the next level up. Like, it is really going to test your understanding of values, and it can get pretty hairy if you're not careful, but it is worth it because you do end up learning a whole lot about things. Does roundness versus squareness matter? Like, as thought of as better and more like an Asaro head. Oh, that depends. It really depends on your style. However your brain works better. Like, I've had better luck lately working with diagonals. So triangles, which would mean squareness, I guess, because there's actual visible edges. So you can actually see that here is like, whenever I'm coming in and doing these highlights, I'm kind of squaring them out and then kind of coming in, and yeah, you can curve it back out. But really, a lot of these angles and shadows and stuff, I really want to work with diagonals. Because even with the like planes of the face, it can be rounded, and you can do a lot of rounding and stuff. But where you really get fun, and it's funny, Sherry, that you asked this specifically, because that's going to be one of the things I cover when I look at the old chicken night on Saturday. It's kind of I'm going to give kind of my secret sauce whenever I think of texture. There's like a little formula I mentally follow, and I'll share that. And see, this is just me putting in more and more. Doesn't even really matter what it is, just that it is. Because like I said, this might be more of the style that I use on the little art book project I'm thinking of, the world building sort of thing. You know, I just don't know if it would be interesting enough. To look at. Because this is really almost my take on the Evan Amundsen way of working. And working wet into wet like this is great because it gives you a lot of flexibility on your edges. Keep some of these like that. Round that out. Make that a little darker. I actually need to introduce some light under here. So while it's still darker, it's not as... yeah, that's better. It's more of a rounded nose. It's funny, I can't think of the actor's name, but he's in a lot of westerns and stuff like that. It's not Lee Van Cleef, it's after that. Watterson? I think his first name's Sam. Someone in chat will tell me. That's kind of the impression that I got with the face. Don't tickle my brain as much. Yeah. So shape-based stuff's a lot of fun. I'm finding more and more luck in it. I still need a lot of practice at it, but you know, it is what it is. I need to practice at a lot of things. So I wonder if I can follow that fold. So yeah, what we can do here, if we want to introduce some grays. I bet they're gonna pop like crazy. So we have this very monochromatic, but it's moving around analogous colors. But if we do something like this, where we grab it, and then all you do is you lower the saturation, because it's going to keep the value. And bring some of this in here. It's probably going to do some trippy stuff to your visual senses. But it should look pretty dope. I'm hoping. At least interesting to look at, you know. And then that. Saturation. Come back down. Boom. Saturation. Pretty much come down. We'll keep it a little bit. This is more... I learned this technique by studying Igor Sid. Igor does this a lot, and it's awesome, and I love how it looks, because it's just enough for your eye to like double take and be like, wait, what is that? And like you're not quite sure why you're looking at it. Ignium, what's up, my friend? So, because you're not sure why your brain wants to look at it, but it does. And that's because the values are actually the same, but you're changing the temperature just a little bit. Just a little. So this is one of the new techniques I'm trying. And we'll see how... Not quite right. That's fine. We'll do that. Here it is. Give us a little bit of something to work with. See, and this is a fun way to work because I don't care too much, you know. It'll make its opposite. On the worm with gray, it seems not to cause a worm to appear in the gray. So the way color theory works, from my experience, and you know, let me do the preface of saying that, like, I know a lot about color. I know a lot about color theory. I'm not an expert by any means. But gray is always a neutralizer, because you're always headed towards the middle of the color wheel, which is on its way to the complementary color on the color wheel. So you're always traveling towards the opposite. So if you're in your warms, you're traveling towards your cools. But if you're in the cools, you're traveling towards your warms. So it's a way that you can get the ultimate subtlety in changing your temperature. Think of it literally like hot water and cold water. And then you're like changing those valves a little bit to get slightly warmer water, slightly cooler water. It's way more fluid than, oh, I'm going to have a green and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get magenta, because magenta is, you know, cooler than or warmer or whatever, like whatever math you're doing. It's usually a good idea to go through the grays first and see if that kind of gets you where you want to go. Because if you do the big jumps, it won't look right. It's too clashy. Your eyes don't have a way to adjust. But yeah, gray's fantastic, because if you're on the warms, it'll always be cool. And if you're on the cools, it'll always be warm. It doesn't matter, you know. And eventually you flip the canvas and realize... Yeah, I mean, painting is just time. It is just time. And how much patience do you have? You know what I mean? Like, So that's all it really is and see, that brings in a little bit of interest. Not so overbearing. That one was not a great stroke, but we will stroke it out. There we go. Need to change that to be a little more. There we go. There it is. I know that highlight doesn't make sense, but I like it, so I'm going to keep it. And we did talk about if we wanted to do the rim light stuff, how it could be the actual complementary color. So if we have that right there, we can come over here, boom. Keep it pretty light. And then this is gonna completely blow things out, but it should be an interesting look. Remember, with a rim light, it's not just an outline. It has to also catch the forms, or else it's not going to look as believable. You know, and it's also true that lighting like this, really harsh, dramatic lighting, supersedes your values. So if you had your value scale, you know, set up a certain way, no, you didn't. Because now this is going to break it. You know what I mean? So then you can come in and yes, so gray, really black and white and gray are all made vastly with blue. I think it's something like, and even like the quote-unquote warm whites and warm blacks and all that stuff, like Mars Black, still has a ton of blue in it. Oh my god, there's so much blue in it. So that's why. Usually it's a safer bet to use your gray as a cooling agent than a warming agent. But a perfect example is if you have, and this is where relativity comes in, and this is color relativity, not, you know, value relativity, but once again, it's all relative. If you have, let's say, a green and you have a perfect 50% gray square next to it, it will look slightly red, which, you know, makes sense because, I mean, the complement of green would be magenta. So it makes sense that it's heading that direction. Like, it's not overly, but that's the power of it, is like you're introducing magenta, like you're slowly opening the door to let magenta in. Because exactly what I'm doing here, like verbatim what I'm doing here, is if you see why this is starting to actually work okay, it looks weird because the saturation is weird, and like we had established a feeling on the piece and this completely breaks it. But the reason why some of these marks work is if you look at where it's blending, you're getting, you know, you're essentially getting gray. You know, these are all color picked, but your transition shades are going to be gray. It's just you're going through the middle of the color wheel. So depending on your rendering, it'll make it look better or worse, or you know what I mean, like what have you. So we can actually gray that out and then bring that up, because then that magenta color won't be nearly as harsh. It's all about having the control. Think of it like a knob, and you're just sort of like slightly putting up the volume or turning down the volume. Like, it's a very fluid thing that whenever I started learning not to go around the color wheel but through it, it changed my mind, like forever. And I could comfortably work with colors I couldn't before, because I always knew that I could temper it back the other direction by using gray, by toning it, by adding gray to it and bringing it back down. See, what's real cool, so let's see if that works. Instead of having everything be the super brightest highlight and all this other stuff, what if I used that magenta color but matched the value that it was on? Would that even make sense? You know what I'm saying? We'll see. Yes. Just giving yourself wiggle room is always a pretty smart bet. And then we can also do this. Let's brighten it and also desaturate it a little. And do the bridge of the nose that way, because then here we can do that. There it is. Hit that. That's not there. That should be over here. Yeah. It's looking a little better, right? And the nice thing is, I actually don't need it down here, but we'll keep it here. That way we just add a little bit of interest regarding brush strokes. But yeah, I don't actually need it down here. And also, rim light isn't everywhere. It's not across the entire silhouette of the piece. Because if it was, all it would do is flatten it out. And we kind of don't want that. We want this to be a little more rendered out, or a little more form based. So hopefully, yeah, the forms are reading okay. Actually do need to hit this though. Separate out the goatee. A little bit of something. A little bit of that. Bring that up. There we go. Thank Thank you so much. Yeah, the nose is cool. Like I've always liked painting noses. I think it's neat because it's all value. It doesn't really have anything to do with like the structure is one thing, but I've always felt comfortable painting noses. I don't know why. They just make sense to me because it's almost like a pyramid that's flat on top. Because you have these two sides that come down to your cheeks, and then you have your top, but the top also leads to a ball. So if you treat the very tip of the nose like a rounded ball and shade it that way, or kind of like form it, you know, it usually always works. We talked about the Rembrandt triangle earlier. The face is a little too angled for it. So if his head was slightly tilted more towards the camera, we could get away with it. But like, if we do that, it doesn't quite work as well, you know, because it's not quite set up to have that set up. So Rembrandt always did three-quarter angle, made it way easier. Yeah, I'm always open to hear, you know, suggestions and stuff, because I mean, you don't have to use every idea, but sometimes an idea comes around, and like whenever you get a fresh set of eyeballs on something, and they see something that you haven't seen in hours, you know what I mean? Because you're looking at it from the construction instead of as like an overall piece. Let's do that. Yeah, so there is a it's really weird how you know, you have your quote-unquote primary colors that you would get in like a paint set. Like, oh, we're going to give you red, and we're going to give you yellow, and we're going to give you blue. It's not quite right. If you were talking about a true triangle where there's even space across all of it, that's not correct. Like, that's why when you can mix those primaries together, primary and secondary and all that stuff, once again, it's relative. It seems like it wouldn't be because, well, these are your primary colors are red and yellow and blue. Nope. Your primary colors just tell you where you're going to start. And then secondary colors are mixing equal parts of your primary color. Like, definitions mean things. So in grade school, I'm not going to be the guy that's like, oh, my children are learning art in art class in second grade, and they learn the primary colors, but they're wrong. Like, I don't care. Like, learn the primary colors. Mix all the colors so you can see what it looks like. But the real primary colors, the ones that will give you the most saturation, the most vibrancy, the highest chroma, and the most amount of colors that you can utilize, period, is cyan, yellow, and magenta. And then black and white, of course. But like, that's it. Cyan, yellow, and magenta. So if you were getting into traditional oil painting or, you know, acrylics or whatever, and you just needed to buy 3 colors, get you a cyan, like cobalt teal or something like that. Get you a magenta, quinacridone, or, you know, whatever. And then a yellow, whether that's ochre or, which one am I thinking of? Can't think of it right now. The big bright one. They might just call it primary yellow. It depends on the brand. But if you get those, you're golden. Yeah. Yeah, it's all digital light. So additive and subtractive color theory and the way light works and stuff. RGB when thinking about grabbing light versus going towards the same way. So yes, so a real strong color palette that maybe it's going to make every color you could possibly think of except for neon orange, which I don't know why you would want it necessarily, but anyway, is mix cyan, yellow, magenta, have that as your warms, or no, as your cools, and then have primary red, blue, and yellow be your warms. So that way you have one of each. And whenever you start mixing and matching them, you make some baller looking palettes. Yeah, one emits light, one absorbs it. So yeah, if you're adding light and subtracting light, that's literally what my next color theory course is. And then it's going to talk about the easiest ways to make really quick color decisions. Like, I don't need a color wheel. I'm at the point now to where I don't need to look at a color wheel. I can look at a painting and be like, okay, it needs this, it needs this, it needs this. If I wanted the complementary, but if I wanted to go over here. And a lot of that is because of the grays, because there's so much power in the gray. But you can see it immediately now. Like, all right, Ivan. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for hanging out. Here we go. Alright, so I'm gonna bring that in. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save this out again as a PNG. Yes, I will be doing some Zorn palette stuff. In fact, I'm hoping I get my other traditional setup stuff figured out, or it's not blurry and all that stuff. I might actually just end up getting a new adapter and using my cell phone and just getting 4K footage that's like super in focus and stuff. But yeah, me and Zorn palette are best friends, so that's definitely going to be on the list. So we're gonna save. Boom. So I want to show you guys this trick. Did that actually save out? Save as. Still has the star next to it. Yes. I've been trying to save it like 4 times. Okay, there we go. Well, let's hope it saved. Who knows? Wow. Import image. Here we go. Then let's do. Okay, cool. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate you for hanging out, man. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to load the toolbox with my brushes. So I'm going to show you guys a cool tip that you can use in like ArtRage, Rebelle, Clip Studio if you have some painterly brushes that do impasto. There's not very many in Clip that I found. Some of them do okay. But like Krita with the Memilio brushes, you can do this. Anything that actually gives you some sort of shadow and highlight on an impasto, you can use this trick. So if you want to add some traditional style brush strokes, let's say you have a painting, it's kind of like this. Not a lot of heavy impasto. It has some cool like normal brush strokes or whatever. But nothing really gritty. And you wanted to add some of that really nice traditional look, but not have to do a new layer, paint with the colors on the new layer, try to balance it well and all this. You want to keep exactly what you have here. You just want to bring in some of that depth. If you get a brush that has impasto, you make a new layer, you change the blending mode to multiply, and you use a pure white brush, the only thing that will transfer is the impasto information. I'll prove it. Let's come over here. Let's say, ooh, I like some of these strokes, but they don't have impasto. Let me get some custom oil. Let me do Bond's brush. And then let me make sure. So it will kind of darken your darks a little bit. There's another brush that I know of. Is really what I'm going for. Are these not? Okay, so it is there. It's just not. I gotcha. So like, there's some of those brush marks, and that's on a regular. I think it's actually kind of hard to see because since we used Paint Storm, it did kind of bring in some of that texture. But if we were to like change this blending mode to like overlay or something, you'll see where we're hitting it with all of this. Need to find the place where it's like super apparent. Blend mode. Go to multiply. It does give you more tooth, but I know Bond's brush can do it. There has to be a redo. Pure white. Yeah, maybe, but it will there's a way that it really looks crazy. You can also, yeah, do like bevel and emboss. It's the same thing. Okay, so there's a few of these. I need to just catch it right. But if you see like this type of thing, I bet I know what it is actually. I bet it's because I don't have any paint on this layer. Ah, let me fix that. Square canvas. Pure white. Now this should hopefully give us something to work with and like chew onto. Bronze brush. Yes, okay, there it is. That's what I wanted. Okay. So then whenever I zoom in, if you see these brush strokes, and it's subtle, like it's not gonna completely overwhelm. So if I do like this, yeah, it does just enough to give you some good tooth on some of these things. Yeah, that's a good one too. It works really great in the lights, as you can see here. It just pops them out a little bit more. Also gives them a little bit of extra like built-in impasto texture. But what's cool about that is you can essentially just trace over any marks you had made before. And because it's not putting down new color, since it's not doing anything like that, the likelihood that these impasto strokes follow your already made brush strokes is way higher, because you're essentially just tracing over what you already did, and it's going to give you some fun stuff you can do. I wonder, actually, if I do this, file, export image file, I wonder if I bring it in and then really up the impasto depth on Rebelle, if it's going to be the thing. Okay, that's good right there. It should be right. Don't save. I think it worked. We shall see. So then if I come in here, boom, port image. So we got it back here. Some cool stuff over on the sides here. So yeah, see how we're kind of integrating some of that. And then if you come over here, some of that depth didn't make it over, but let's try it here. I'm gonna, that was crazy. Okay, I am going to make a new layer, get pure white, get my oils and acrylics, not thick, I want flat oily. Let's see if this works. Oh God. Gotta change it to multiply. Boop. Oh yeah. It's bringing in that texture. Look at that. So it's bringing in the canvas texture. Now, if I come in, paper texture, sure, impasto depth. Yeah, see that? If we crank that, bring that depth down. Let's keep the granulation. There we go. See, we've got it pure there, flat oily. Let's try flat dry. Oh yeah, for sure. That one is very apparent. So that's the thing. You can pick what you like. So let's do a filbert brush and like follow what we already made. Oh yeah, see? That's money. That one is money right there. So like you can come in here. Oh yeah, boy. Look at that. Mwah. And the nice thing is, this is just... This is just gravy right here. And then as you can come back over, you kind of blend it out a little bit. Just a little slight touch right there. Let's do thick. Golly. I ain't kidding, man. That is thick. Let's do flat. See, and like little hits of where that grain is like raising. But see, that's what gives us our that's what gives us this type of thing. How they got this. So this would be my version of that kind of thing. Like if I wanted to really play around with some texture, but not have it be super overbearing. Because then of course what you can do is, let's say you have this and you're like, oh, this looks cool. But also like, oh man, you can lower the opacity of this whole layer and do it just enough. See what I mean? So where it's just getting introduced into the painting. So something like that. So that's a fun little art hack. That's a nice little life hack, if you will. Yeah, Rebelle actually does this way better than Art Rage. Art Rage used to be the one that I go to, but now I think it's Art Rage through and through. Because yeah, that's sick. That's the exact effect I wanted. Because now you have to think of it this way. Now we can do anime, we can do a lot of like very I don't know, smooth rendering type stuff. And then later you can come in and add this. You know, so if you're getting in there and making really cool brush strokes and you want a little bit of texture and stuff, then you get that nice kind of mixed media look. So you're adding visual interest, and you're going to get so many people, I guarantee it. What I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put my initials on this and like your like signature and like post it up and be like, hey, we finished our Radagast style guy like on the stream. It'll be on the YouTube video. I'm hoping we get so many people like, how in the hell did you, that brushwork is crazy. And it's not anything out of the order. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? Like this is very much the way I kind of usually paint. But then you do the multiply layer, pure white brush, come in with some impasto, work some magic, and you're going to get people that are like, dang man, like what? How did you do that? Like, it's just a really cool way to do it. And see, you just want to like kiss the canvas with it. You don't want to overbearing, right? Just enough to get some like nice swoops in there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's rad. I think I'm going to start doing this on every painting I do now. just to spice it up a little. But yeah. Yeah. Cool. I think that might be it for me tonight. It's almost 1:30, so I'm going to actually get real sleep. Yesterday I only got 3.5 hours of sleep, which is not a lot. Not a lot of sleep, especially with kiddos. Let me move this so it doesn't kill the microphone. Did I do it? Oh, it's on the cable. Oh my God. There it is. All right. Oh, but hope you guys had some fun today. This is super fun. I'm super glad I found that. I might make a YouTube video just on that. We will be doing, so next stream is going to be the critique stream, the art stream, looking at everybody's art, amazing art. We're going to be looking at it. We're going to be taking notes. I'll do some slight paint overs on things. But the real goal, and I'm going to say this whenever we start the art stream, my goal will never, ever, ever be to have you paint like me. My goal is to have you paint more like you. So I'm not gonna be like, well, to fix this image, you need to put this over here and turn that this way. And like, no. Literally, I'm not gonna do anything to change the structure of the piece. I might adjust values. I might show some like brushstroke examples. I might show some stuff like that, but it's going to be using your art where the important stuff matters. And I'm not going to touch any of that. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be ways that we can look at it, because there's some great techniques and challenges and stuff that we can look at together and see how to make it more impactful. But it's never going to be my place to be like, well, this is wrong, and if you do it my way, then it's right. Like, that's not real. That doesn't exist. So if you've ever had an art teacher like that, I'm sorry, but they were crappy. They were a bad art teacher. A good art teacher is supposed to help you be more like you. And that's going to be what our intent is on the Saturday stream. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It will be archived. So if you can't make it live, I totally understand. I do have a weird kind of time schedule. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun though. Well, like I said, I already have some lessons planned out that are going to be some baller stuff. And you guys made some great art. Like, looking at the pictures, I'm like, man, what would I critique on this? Like, I can't. I'm looking at it and I was like, looks fine to me. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but we'll dig in. I'll find some stuff. Yeah, it'll be fun. And I'm hoping there's a lot of like aha moments, like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Because I always really get excited whenever I see stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I need to paint right now. Like, that's the goal, right? Is we just want to get better together and we want to paint. And like, yeah, man. So no, nothing to be nervous about. I promise you, I have a gentle touch. My bedside manner's pretty good. So nothing to worry about. Nobody's going on blast. You know what I mean? Nothing like that. So it's going to be cool because we're going to look at some techniques, things to maybe improve, things to maybe, and improve as in make the image the best version of the image. You know, it's all about the image. It's all about the work. It's never about the person. So yeah, but it will be a lot of fun. I'm stoked for it. I'm going to have everything on like 3 monitors and stuff. And we're going to have like a line of these images up here. And I'm going to be like, okay, this one, and here's the notes, and this one, and here's the notes. But I think right now I have 9 images, maybe 10 that we're going to look at. So a lot of fun. Very excited about it. But that is my time. And also, on the gaming side of things, I reinstalled Monster Hunter. I need to dig into Monster Hunter. That game's real good. I've only played it a few hours, like collectively. I've played a few hours of every Monster Hunter that's come out. Never really dug in, but I'm feeling like that's going to be a good MMO-esque game that we can play and chill out with. Like Monster Hunter, I reinstalled Diablo 4. Just good games where you can play and chat at the same time. None of these try-hard esports games. Well, except for Street Fighter. We're still going to try to level up there for sure. But actually do like online ranking and all that stuff. But anyway, Monster Hunter, a lot of fun. What we can even do is get some cool pictures or whatever, like take in-game snapshots and try to make some cool artwork out of it too. Any of the games that have a photo mode are great for doing practices and doing paint overs and like learning how to work with 3D. Very, very cool. So Dude, Monster Hunter is sick. So yeah, I'm gonna try not to do a ton of gaming only streams. I want to do a little bit of art because, you know, dance with the girl that brought you. So do those 99% of the time. But sometimes we'll just chill out. We'll have some fun and just play some games. See what we can get into, as it were. So that is my time for this evening. Thank you all so much for hanging out. This one's a shorter one than normal, but after the 3-hour epics that we've had, hopefully this one's a little more digestible, especially if you're watching on the archives and stuff. But yeah, that is my time. You all are lovely and beautiful and perfect as always. And yeah, hanging on the Discord. If anything's wonky on the Discord, let me know. I will be on it all day, kind of every day. It's just I'll be doing a lot of back-end stuff, trying to get things synced up and all that. So yeah, you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for your support as always. It's so much fun. In fact, I'm gonna give you guys near the in the next few months. Gonna give you guys a sneak peek at the new brush pack, and to the loyals, all of you on Discord, I'm gonna get you guys a pretty hefty discount on the brush pack. Pretty hefty. Some might even say it's a steal. I'm giving it away. Who knows? So, anyways, that's my time. Little stuff to chew on for a little bit. I'll see you guys very soon. See you on Saturday. Art review time. Deuces.